yeah. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Michael Carrick is about to take charge of his first press conference as the caretaker manager of Manchester United. It gets underway at 1 p.m. Harry Maguire will be joining him as well. It's going to be intriguing to know what they're going to be saying. Of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, having been removed from duties via mutual consent, a very important game as well, a massively important game for Manchester United in the context of their season. A must win, in fact. 5:45 kickoff tomorrow. And, this United team needs to be absolutely on point. A lot of talk and speculation about who's going to be coming in to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Michael Carrick, how long will he be the interim manager? Maybe we'll get some of the answers to that today. I thought really important, as everybody's so eager to know what's going on in this situation, that we would, we'd chat about this and talk about it today. So we're going to be giving you updates live as things are being said, getting your reaction. I want to take your calls as well. I want to know what you think. I want to know what you feel. I want to know what your feelings on things. I see a lot of people giving kind of Michael Carrick a fair amount of stick for being the interim. I'm not too sure where that's coming from as of now, as to why that warrants it. But there we go. We'll see. I'd like to get your take from a PE teacher to the caretaker. Yeah, look, I saw Darren Fletcher is in the commentator talk about this, saying that it's like embarrassing that we've got a caretaker waiting for a caretaker to come in. And I'm going to reserve, I said all along on this, I'm going to reserve judgment on everything. I've got massive concerns over the way Man United are run, but we never know whether we're doing it the right or the wrong way until you're in the midst of it. Somebody has to be a caretaker manager after Ole is sacked. So I called for Ole to be sacked instantly once I could see that there was no return. So you can't call for a manager to be sacked instantly and then nobody be there as a caretaker. They're clearly working on trying to find a replacement. They've been dragging their feet. It's frustrating that the club's allowed this situation to persist. But in terms of Michael Carrick, he shouldn't even have to be the caretaker if the owners had done their job properly. So I'm fully behind him, and I hope that for the 1, 2, 3, 4 games that he's in charge of, I hope and I pray that he does a good job. Equally, I hope that he doesn't do such a good job that the board start looking at him as the future manager, because he isn't ready to take a club forward like Man United. We need someone legit of a world-class standard. There's no doubt. There is just absolutely no doubt whatsoever. The press conference is on its way now, people. It's going to be starting very, very soon. We'll keep you abreast of things here at the Football Terrace. Aaron here with the super chat says, is the phrase mind the gap? Remember, we've got a competition running for you to win a PlayStation 5, a limited edition Boohoo Man hoodie, £100 in cash, and a pair of Cristiano Ronaldo's football boots. All you've got to do is guess the Football Terrace secret phrase. Thank you for guessing there, Aaron, but that isn't the phrase, my friend. But thank you very much for having a go and having a guess. Michael Carrick out is Ole 2.0. Yeah, he's not the manager though. Calm down. I would say right now, relax a little bit on that. Like, just relax a little bit on it. Just a little bit. There's no signs as of now that he is going to be the permanent manager of Manchester United. So let's just relax. Just relax. Legitimately, just relax a little bit. I know that people are frustrated at the minute, but I don't think there's necessarily a reason to be overly upset. But the press conference is on its way to starting now. So we will keep you abreast of what's going on there. We are going to keep you abreast of what's going on. I'm just trying to line my phone up so I can see it, so it's there. Winner Paul says, for now. Yeah, for now. And if, like, my view would be this. If in a few weeks' time, there's suddenly talk of him becoming the permanent manager, then I think we have that conversation. Then I think it's time for the moaning to maybe start. But until there's any sign or inclination that he could become the manager, I don't necessarily see the point of stressing about it. I'm not going to stress about it personally. There we go. Mauricio Pochettino is prepared to quit PSG and join Man United. Yeah, we spoke about that late last night. That news was broke by Daily Mail very, very late yesterday evening, around 11, 12 o'clock Sunday evening. Poch doesn't seem to really be whetting the appetite of very many Man United fans at the minute. I'd like to get anyone who's tuning in now's views and opinions on that. Adam here says, is this a United channel? Too much United news. So we covered the top six, as you know, and I didn't see you in any of our Liverpool, Tottenham, or Chelsea shows over the weekend. So that's on you, Adam. Your job is to tune into the other ones. But Man United news right now is dominating, absolutely dominating the headlines. So therefore, we're going to be talking about it. If Chelsea were going through this, Arsenal, they would be the focus. The same as Tottenham a few weeks ago, buddy. So we covered the trending news. But here, the press conference beginning now. He said it's been a very emotional day yesterday. So they've got a technical issue. They've got a technical issue. One sec. He said it's been an emotional time for everyone at the club. He said that it's very unfortunate that Ollie lost his job and it's very tough for him. Tough for Ollie. I think what's really key there, Michael Carrick had just said that, he and Ollie had spoke and they totally understand why Ollie lost his job. It's a results-driven business. The results just haven't been there. And he may not deserve it by his actions and how hard he's worked, but that's football for you. Which I think is fair from Michael Carrick. That's exactly the kind of attitude that you want to see. That's exactly the kind of attitude you want from your team, is to go, it's unfortunate Ollie isn't here, but doing things his way hasn't worked for us. It is sad because from their point of view, because they have tried, they've worked hard to get this over the line, and it just hasn't quite come off. Do me a favor, by the way, people, and smash that like button for us right now as well, please. Give that a whack for the Football Terrace, please. It'd be great if you could get that done for us. He says that we're focusing on the game now tomorrow, and we're very much looking forward to it. And they should be. The players actually have to put all of this behind them. This is like a fresh start for a lot of these players. Forget about it, as in for that 90 minutes. Get your head down, work hard, and go. We've got one of the first questions starting here, so I'll relay these questions live as we speak. Simon Stone's question here. So Simon Stone has asked Harry Maguire to reflect on the last 24 hours. And did they fear, as that game was happening, that Ollie would essentially lose his job, is what they're asking Maguire. He said it's a very hard time for us, the players, because we, the playing staff, have a lot of respect for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And he says, never nice to see someone lose their job. It's been very hard. So Harry Maguire just said there that, the results haven't been good enough recently. Ollie's paid the price because it's a result-driven business and they just wasn't there. He says we need to take a big responsibility of that as players. It's been an emotional last 24 hours, is the words there from Maguire. And they're now asking him, don't the players have to take more responsibility? And he says the players, Maguire just said the players have to take responsibility on and off the field. Big words there by Harry Maguire. But you need to deliver on that, Harry. You need to deliver on the end of that. You can't just say it, Harry. The managers always pay the price. But you're going to have CARRICK now. You might have an interim. You might get Poch. You might get Zidane. You guys have got to step up as well. They've got to. Especially if the manager is deemed better. If they get a superior coach, superior manager, these players are going to have nowhere to hide. The squad's good enough. Right, well, another question coming up here. Oh, he's asked him, what did Ollie say to the players? What did Ollie say? This is going to be an interesting answer here from Maguire. What did Ollie say to the players is the question. So he essentially, Maguire here has said, he's not going into the depth. He's not going to go into detail. He said that Ollie's wished everybody well. He said, but we as players need to take responsibility here. And I agree with Maguire, but they need a better system. They need a better coach. They need better training. They need better drilling. If they have someone come in that is highly competent, then there is no reason. There's nowhere for these players to hide. They've had a hiding place with Ollie. There's been a hiding place. And if they get the appointment right next, there's no more hiding. Maguire has been asked another question, and he just said that this is probably the squad have spoke, and this is, for a lot of them, the toughest time any of them have ever had at club level. Any of them. It's probably the hardest time Ronaldo's had as a club player as well. No questions yet towards CARRICK at all. No talk about what's going to be going on over the next few days. Sorry, in terms of starting lineups, nothing like that. If you asking about team news, there's no team news as of yet. Interestingly as well, some breaking news here from Samuel Luckhurst. Samuel Luckhurst has just tweeted stating Mauricio Pochettino wants to join Man United now rather than wait until the summer. More and more outlets along those lines. Michael Carrick here is going to take his first question. I think they're going to Michael Carrick now. Laurie Whitwell's question from The Athletic here. Oh, they're asking him how long he might be here. How long may Michael Carrick be here? Interesting. I'm going to give you an update in just a second, people. Stay with me. Stay with me. I'm going to give you an update. I'm just listening to the rest of it. Right. So Michael Carrick has been asked how long he may be here, and he said he's essentially been told to prepare the team for tomorrow. He said he's dedicated to the club. He's been here a long time, been working with this group of players for a while. He said that whether it's one game, two games, or a longer stretch, he is ready. He is ready. And I think what he means by that is he doesn't know yet who they're going to appoint. Man United don't know yet whether they're going to go for an interim first of all. So he's prepared to do one, two, or more games. This is the big question coming up here. Stay with me. Stay with me. They asked him, why has it gone wrong with this squad this season? He said that he doesn't really want to look backwards. It's not really the time for that. He says that the players and individuals need to look at themselves and where they could do better. You're not going to get Michael Carrick come out and say that there was problems, the coaching weren't good enough, the ideas from Ollie weren't working. He's never going to say that. He's only going to look forward. He said, we're preparing for the game in Spain tomorrow. That is the focus of me, and that is the focus of Manchester United right now. Fairly obvious answer. They've asked him if there's going to be a change tactically. This is interesting. He says you have to wait and see. So he's, hang on. The journalists are asking good questions, and I think Michael Carrick is answering them with great dignity, wonderful professionalism, but they are fairly generic. If anybody expecting him to say, "Yeah, Ollie was a shithouse," he's not going to say that. He isn't. He says, "We know how we want to play, what we want to do, how we want to go about it. You're going to have to see whether there's any tactical changes." Interesting. Now, this isn't pre-recorded. This is live. AD. Next question coming up. What's Carrick saying? I mean, I can paraphrase what Michael Carrick has said. He's spoke about how the players and him have just got to focus on the job at hand. He knows that he's here for a handful of games until Man United resolve the next appointment. And he's absolutely right in what he's saying. Him and the players shouldn't be sitting in training and, oh, if we'd have done X, Y, and Z, Ollie might be here. This is sad. That is sad. What are we going to do? They need to focus on these games. Man United have the biggest 9 days ahead of us. The next 9 days are gargantuan. The next 9 games are Champions League survival and then back-to-back games against two of our biggest Premier League rivals ever, Chelsea and Arsenal. That's the only thing. If I'm Michael Carrick right now, he's doing exactly what I would do. He's making the players focus on that. That's the most important thing. Let the board handle, worry, think about the managerial element. They ain't got no focus from the playing staff on that at all. Ooh, does he have the ambitions to manage the club longer? He said here that I'm not They asked him whether or not he's got the ambitions to remain as Man United manager, and he simply said that I'm thinking about the game versus Villarreal and I'm not looking past it. That's it. That's all he said. Jamie Jackson's question coming up now. So Jamie Jackson's asked whether whether it's important for players to get clarity about the future managerial situation. So he's just given it a really simplistic answer again and just said, look, he isn't here to comment on what the players need or don't need at this moment in time about clarity of the future. He says they're here to focus on the game tomorrow night, and that's it. Again, perfect answer from Michael. Yeah, I want to read some of your comments that we're going through here. A bit of a boring question that came up there. The whole team has got to up their game. I agree with you on that. They do, especially if we appoint a manager that gets universal support. There's no doubt. Do me a big favor, my people. Smash that like button for us right now. Over nearly 1,200 people watching. Let's get this stream past at least 400 likes. That would be absolutely amazing if you could support us in doing that. Thank you. So Ollie left the will, but Carrick doesn't have the license. I hear you on that. All these press conferences are politically correct BS. Yeah, I think they are. And I very rarely do these, and I only wanted to hear what Michael Carrick had to say today, just to see whether there was any kind of information that we would be provided with that the media hadn't already got. And so far, what we're really getting is those fairly generic answers that we really expected to get. That I think we very much expected to get in relation to this. So I'm not overly shocked by what we're hearing right now. Any questions you've got for me, feel free to put them across. Feel free to ask me anything you want to ask. Michael Gray with a question coming up now to Michael Carrick. Oh, very good question. I'll relay it back to you in a second, my people. So essentially the question was, what have you said to the players and how have you sort of set them up and prepared them for the next few weeks? And he said, look, he went, again, we're focused on tomorrow night. That's what I'm preparing the team for. We're taking it one game at a time. He says, for me personally, it's a new challenge and I'm looking forward to it. But all I'm focusing on is game by game. And in fairness, that is a generic answer, but it's the right answer. You don't want a manager thinking right now about 2 months, 3 months. How should I train the team today because of the manager that's coming in? They just need to focus on winning these next few games or being competitive in them at least. Another question now. This sounds like a tough question. They said, what could you say to the fans to make them believe that things could change? That's a great question. What would he say to the fans? He said that Michael Carrick, the biggest way to respond for the fans is to give them results. And I agree with that. Stop the chat. Stop telling us you're working hard. Stop telling us you're looking good in training. Stop telling us that you think you can turn the corner. Turn the corner. That's the right answer there from Michael Carrick. Spot on. Absolutely spot on from him. Spot on. The devil's advocate here says, I guarantee Carrick is the prime culprit behind McFred. I don't think he is. We'll see. We'll see the next few games. We'll see the next few games. Be interesting. They're actually talking directly about the Villarreal game now. So we're actually talking about the football at last. This is nice. He says, do you think you'll learn from the previous two games? So he just spoke about the experiences of playing against them. He said that they're a very good team. They're a very well-coached team, Villarreal, and how both performances against them in the final and in the first game in the Champions League were fairly different from one another. But as we know in both those games, the lack of killer instinct in that final is what cost Man United. And that's what we're going to have tomorrow night. United's away record. I was looking at this earlier. I'm going to go and find this now. Man United's away record in Spain. It's awful. Legitimately, it's awful. It really, really is. So this was an article from 2018. So you can echo it on from here. Man United have won just three times in 23 visits in 50 years across European competitions. It's absolutely crazy. But that's a short break there in the press conference. And as I've said, the away form in Spain is awful. We've won like 3 or 4 games in 50 years away from home. So tomorrow is all about doing that. Thank you very much for saying this Twitch is good. Really appreciate that, buddy. Top man. Who's in the house here? Who's in the house? Man like KJ here says Carrick and McKenna wanted to play an 8 and a 6. Ollie and Phelan wanted 2 8. Yeah, I've read that in a few places. Look, I'm really intrigued to see who's going to come into the team, who's going to play, who. The little differences that Michael Carrick can make. And let me just say this now: I don't want Michael Carrick to become the permanent manager, even if he wins the next 10 games on the bounce. I don't want him to become the permanent manager. I want someone who is tried and tested and at the peak of his powers and is on his way to becoming or is already regarded as a very good to world-class manager. But that doesn't mean that I don't want Michael Carrick to win all these matches. So I kind of get the feeling from some people, it's almost like they want Michael Carrick to fail so there's no chance that he gets a job. We can't act like that. You know, Man United right now are behind the curve because we kept Ollie in place too long. There should have been a replacement already lined up. It does look like right now Maurizio Pochettino is the guy. 3 separate outlets have all reported the same story. The Daily Mail from 3 different journalists, Samuel Luckhurst and Simon Stone, that Pochettino is willing to come to Man United now and walk out on his job at Paris Saint-Germain. We know that Woodward and the Glazers have been long-term admirers of him. Let's see what can happen. Terry Poch has ended today. Sorry? I don't know what that means, bro. Rewrite that for me so that makes a little bit more sense to me, brother. Players need to play in their professional pride regardless of the coaching. The fans deserve it. And do you know what? The devil's advocate, you're right. Fans definitely deserve that. I'm not going to deny it. It's hard to sometimes, though. And we've seen that before in multiple examples. It can sometimes be very, very difficult to achieve that. It really, really can. But you are right. It should happen. Francisco here says, man has been released from the basement. Donny van der Beek talking about it. I saw your other comment. Sometimes I read these comments out and I'm like, I don't quite know what man's saying here. Let's do some more of what's being said. Terry you had a bad agenda against Poch. No, my agenda, if you want to call it an agenda against Poch, remains exactly the same. I'm still not convinced that he can win the major trophies because he hasn't won a major trophy. If he comes in, I'll support him and I want him to do well. My focus, though, isn't the manager. My focus is the rhetoric and the narrative that we're sold. If I hear words like rebuild, if I hear words like squad overhaul, if I hear words like cultural change, if I hear sort of all these buzzwords being thrown around, like processes that need to be put in place before Poch can be successful, whoever's been successful, I'm going to do my nut. We don't need a rebuild. You've just told us that Ollie built everything, but just wasn't a good enough manager to take us over the line. So just bring a manager in to pick up the mantle and run with it. This should be the easiest appointment since Fergie. I'm focused on the club far more than the manager. I've got my preference, but I'm putting my preferences aside because I'm focusing on my football club. And I think that's key. You know, I look at the way that a lot of our rivals are behaving, how our rivals are performing. And, you know, we've got to aspire. We have to aspire to be on those levels. A quick recap in terms of what Michael Carrick has said today. Essentially, what Michael Carrick has said is that they're focused on the game ahead. Him and Maguire didn't really go into any major detail about what Ollie said and everything else. They spoke very much about personal pride, them having to take responsibility, focusing on this next handful of games. They did question and quiz Michael Carrick as if to suggest to him that, you know, could you be here any longer? He's essentially said, I'm happy to cover 1-2 games. If they need me for a longer stretch, I am here for that. It does appear right now that Man United don't have any real plans to keep Carrick longer. I think his performances as interim or caretaker manager and who they find to come in as the permanent replacement could change that. If, for instance, if Poch is number one and Poch agrees to join now and they do a deal with PSG, then there's going to be no issue. Carrick won't last. If they have to wait until the end of into the summer to get their number one target and Carrick getting really positive results, they may keep him as the permanent interim until the end of the year. If he's getting really negative results and they've got to wait to the end of the season, it's highly likely a different interim will be put in place. That's what will happen, in my view. We have some super chats here. We're going to go to a quick fire round soon for our members and super chatters as well. This says, is the phrase bounce back ability? The phrase isn't bounce back ability, but that's excellent. Thank you. Good guess. As a rival fan, as long as you maintain the same coaching team like Phelan, I am not worried. The likelihood is that once the new manager is appointed, the majority of the coaching staff will be changed. The only reason the coaching staff has remained is you quite literally need someone to train the team, put the cones down, pick up the water bottles. If they all left, there'd be no one to coach them. So they're likely to leave, brother. When's the last time you did a press conference reaction? I went for a period maybe 3 years ago where I was doing reactions to all the big clubs' press conferences. I did them for about a month or two. I'm only really going to do them now for like big press conferences. So a newer managerial appointment, the press conference before a Champions League or an FA Cup final and things like that. So there'll be few and far between, if I'm being completely honest. There's no plans to make these a permanent fixture on the main channel of the Terrace. We need results or else this season and the next is in jeopardy. Absolutely. And it's why tomorrow night is so big. Tomorrow night's game is gargantuan for Manchester United because it is a game which could end our Champions League season. Defeats to Arsenal and Chelsea with wrong results in the other direction for rivals vying for the top four could see us be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points away from the top four. We could have 2 seasons damaged if these next 3 or 4 games don't go well, which is why, again, Michael Carrick might not be the guy for the job, but it's why Ollie should have been sacked 5-6 games ago. And everything we're doing now with Poch and Ten Hag and everybody else completed and finalized in the previous 2 international breaks so that we weren't in this situation and we had a much better opportunity to get out of it. However, that isn't on Michael Carrick. That isn't on any of them in that regard. I can only get behind them and support them in winning these games moving forward. We're going to go on and have some quick fire round questions now from our members. Remember, you can become a member from as little as 99p. The link is in the description or on the screen in front of you. You can click join. So super chat in or member chat in. We're going to go into the quick fire round question right about now. So get your quick fire questions in. and points, and we'll answer them as quick as we can. Man like KJ here, still a member of the Terrace, even though he works with us. That's actually quite humbling, if I'm being honest with you. He says here, don't be surprised if United don't get... Sorry, something popped up on my screen. Don't get Poch now that he is begging to come. They are that incompetent. I kind of hear you on that. A lot of people have said similar things in the past. Football Matters says we need Frankie de Jong in the midfield. Well, if you want a Frankie de Jong, you need Champions League football. You want Champions League football, you've got to convince somebody to come now. There's no doubt about it. The devil's advocate here says, I can't stand being fed more buzzwords. I'll hire agent for 47 to clear out Man United if I do. Yeah, I'm not about the buzzwords. And of course, you're always going to get fairly generic answers. You're always going to get fairly... but just kind of bland answers from managers in press conferences, there's no doubt. But what's more important to me is what comes out the club via the verified journalists who are close to it, the Laurie Whitwells, the Simon Stones, Rob Dawson's, etc., Neil Custis. If we get a new manager and we start hearing about an 18-month, 2-year project to rebuild this squad after the damage that Ollie did to it, that's literally what we said after every other single manager was appointed. And for me, I'm not about that. I want to see the rhetoric coming out of the club of, we've built this brilliant squad, we've built this great foundation, we believe the next manager can take this squad forward to achieve greatness. That's it. You can add a few buzzwords into that if you want, but that's got to be the message. If that isn't the message, we are in trouble. GS here says, KJ, do... Okay, that's the question to KJ. He can answer that inside of things. Do you think Donny will start tomorrow? I hope Donny van der Beek starts tomorrow. I legitimately hope he starts. I hope he gets the opportunity to deliver. There's no doubt about it. What would be the worst case scenario manager-wise? Like, who would you be really fuming about if they appointed? So Zidane's my number one choice, but highly unlikely. Ten Hag and Poch are then there, kind of neck and neck. Then I would probably say Brendan Rodgers. However, I'm not educated on every manager in the world. There may be some culpable managers out there that I haven't really focused on that are attainable. It's when we start dropping below that. It's when we start going down to, I've seen names, I'll tell you the kind of names that would infuriate me if we employed Michael Carrick full term. Steve Bruce is currently 12-1. How does that happen? Laurent Blanc permanently, I'm not about that. There's other names I've seen thrown out here. You know, Lopatelli, who's at Sevilla. I'm not about that. I don't think those kind of people are good enough or the right ilk that we need right now. It's just if we don't go and get someone who's brilliant and attainable, it's going to annoy me. It's as simple as that. There's the lad, I always forget his name. He's playing over in South America at the minute. Is it Guardado? Is it Guardado? Maybe it's him. He's currently ranked at like 66-1. Someone like him would excite me because there's a lot of buzz about him at the minute. But if we end up with just some generic has-been or someone that's just so under par, that'll infuriate me, Maria. That'll infuriate me. Is the phrase trophy drought? No, the phrase isn't trophy drought, but thank you very much for having a go and having a guess. What about Wayne Rooney? Yeah, Wayne Rooney ain't ready for Man United. Again, if Wayne Rooney's the guy we hire permanently to take us forward, to Maria Williams' question, I'd be fuming. Francisco here says, what about Potter? I'd be excited about Graham Potter, but Graham Potter for me has those same question marks as the Poches, even to a degree as the Ten Hags, but slightly bigger one. At least Poch and Ten Hag have played in the Champions League. How will he handle being at a club like Man United? Nobody knows yet. That's why Zidane was my number one choice, because he's been at a club as big as Man United. He's handled the pressures of that, and he's delivered in every single tournament that he's played in. He's the only manager with... The only question mark is, can he do it in the Prem? But essentially, you're going to be asking that about most managers we look to bring in, because most of the top managers in the world are not currently Premier League based. So that can't be something that deters us. Terry, who do you think is better, Frankie de Jong or Donny? That's a really difficult... Again, I can only answer this honestly. When they both were at Ajax, I preferred Donny van der Beek. So if you go back and look at some of the streams I did after Ajax games when they beat Spurs and a few others, you'll hear me talk about how good and how much I love Donny van der Beek. So that's legit. Lamin's already asked that question. I noticed that Carrick slipped in that Woodward met him at the training ground. Why isn't the director of football taking control? Because we all know that that Ed Woodward is still there and he's probably going to remain at the club. But I don't actually think he's going to leave even come April. I think he'll make himself stay longer. The Glazers love Ed Woodward, so yeah, that wouldn't surprise me in any way or in any shape or in any form at all. It just simply wouldn't. GS here. Oh, okay, that's you guys are still chatting to each other. I think the board are waiting for Poch as they have bought Poch type players is what Football Matters FC's got to say. So that is legitimately an interesting one here. There's a comment that's come through saying that Man United could try to prize Mauricio Pochettino from PSG during the winter break in France. That's December to January. PSG used last season's winter break to sack Thomas Tuchel, is what Dan KP's got to say. They could, but that would still infuriate me, Cage. That's still too late. That's still too late. They need to do that now. They need to go if Poch is their number one, or if they view him as very close to being the number one, they've got to go out there now. They've got to go out there now and get that done and deliver it. They simply have to. They simply have to for me. Let's have a look at some more of these comments. Yeah, no, I hear you on that, bro. Why would the Glazers get rid of the guy that bought them the club? Who bought them the club for them? I hear what you're saying there. Yes, again, why would they? My opinion is that Rodgers is a yes man, and that's why United want him, is what JJ's got to say. Yeah, I'm going to be very intrigued to see who Manchester United end up going for. I really, really am. Listen, everyone who's tuned in to this today, thank you very, very much indeed. I really do appreciate you coming in and listening to what we had to say. We're back at 6 p.m. for the Bet Victor Top 6 show. Star-studded guest. It's going to be an amazing podcast. We're looking back over the weekend games. We're talking about Man United's managerial appointments. We're going to be previewing some of the big games in the Champions League this week as well. It's going to be a brilliant show. So make sure you're tuning in live at 6 p.m. right here on the Football Terrace. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. Smash